Hi friends, Sandra here at Blossom and Inspire, and we are doing some coffee dyeing. This is going to be over the course of several days, more likely 7 to 10 days, I think. That's about how long I take when I'm doing my coffee. And avocado dyeing, these are all frozen, so I need to get those boiled up. But I just wanted to start off first showing you what I do. I boil water in my coffee kettle there, or my tea kettle, whatever that thing is called. I just mix up a small batch in a coffee cup, and then I pour it in a pan right over here on the stove. I have my 3 elder pans that I've picked up at different yard sales, and I use these for my dyeing. I pour the mixture from the cup into these pans here, and then I just add water as I want to go, and then I can lighten up the color. You know, your coffee dye does not have to be hot. The water, it doesn't have to be hot. It can be cold, so that is fine. As you can see right here, I have 2 cheap brands of coffee. This Great Value, I believe that's from Walmart. Actually, I think I bought them both from Walmart, to be perfectly honest. And you can see inside they have, well, it's kind of blurry. Sorry about that. They are a little bit different in color in their roast. You see what I'm saying? However, you can make them as dark as you want later on, but I do like using 2 different kinds of coffees, 2 different colors, because I think it does make a difference. It might just be all in my head, but you know what? You just play, you just experiment, and that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna boil those avocados up in just a moment here. While that water is cooking and simmering, we'll be working with the coffee dye. So I'll be right back. All right, I thought I should probably do this with you. So I know the first time I ever did coffee dyeing, I wanted to see somebody do it. Now this is gonna be difficult because I'm holding this up with my phone. I'm holding my phone with my hand. So I'm just gonna put coffee in with my spoon just like that. I'm gonna put more in there, and then I'm gonna add water, so I will be right back. All right, you can see I put about 4 or 5 heaping tablespoons. I may add more coffee, it just depends, but honestly, you can't go wrong with this. I would say if you don't like really dark coffee dye, start light and then add more as you go. So I just put that in there, and then I pour some hot water in there. And that's it, just a little bit to melt it. I don't wanna burn my fingers when I'm doing the coffee dye, when I'm putting the papers in and out. So this is what I find that works for me. And give that a stir, melt it down. And that is the lighter coffee, and then we'll see if there's actually a difference in a moment. I'm gonna do the same thing with the dark coffee, and then we're gonna pour them into the pan. All right, here's my light coffee. So it looks pretty dark though right there, doesn't it? I'm gonna do that, and then I'm just gonna add plain water to it, and I'm gonna have coffee drips all over my floor because that's what I do. I'm very messy, and my floors need to be mopped. So I thought I would coffee dye now because I don't want to mop and then mop again. All right, I got my avocado peelings, and I've got a lot of the pets in there too. And you know what? So I've been saving avocados. My friends saved them for me, so there's a whole bunch in there. I will say that I usually, if I'm doing them right away, I always want to have at least 4 avocados. That's the way I like it. That's what I do. And I have never added baking soda or anything to my water, and I always get beautiful papers. So I bring it to a boil, and then I turn it down and let it boil for about, I think it's like 45 minutes at least. You can see the water changing. You can keep it in there longer if you want. I am gonna try some baking soda this time because I wanna darken it up a little bit and see if that really works. I just wanna know what the difference is. I have enough avocados that I can do 2 different batches, but I just thought I would test that out. So while that's like super, I gotta be careful because I'm a dangerous crafter. There's my 2 waters. There's the lighter coffee and the darker coffee. We'll see if they really are light and dark in just a moment. All right, I've got myself a pitcher of just cold water out of the sink, just tap water, and I'm just gonna pour it into my pan, just like that. That's all I do. I don't wanna burn my fingers, so that's just how I do it. And I'm gonna pour some in this one as well. There we go. I don't have to worry about that. I'll use up all my water, all my coffee dye here. And so what we're gonna do, just to test them out, is we're gonna try a couple of papers and see how dark they look when they're wet. They always look different when they're dry, but I do wanna see what the difference is, because right now, and it could be the coloring of the pan, but the one that was lighter looks darker than the one that was darker. Isn't that funny? As I'm waiting for my water to come to a boil here with the avocados, I have not put the baking soda in yet. I'm gonna go ahead and get my counter put the wax paper down this long counter here and get ready to lay some papers out. So here's a box of stuff that I want to copy dye. I have some more downstairs, but I just bought some new paper, and this is the 32 pound, and I want to get, there's 110 sheets in here, so I'm going to do all 110 sheets. And then I just have a mix match of papers, file folders, things that I think I would use, but I would like to have some more color to them. Loose papers that were just falling out of things. There's just all kinds of stuff, and I just throw them in this box. And then I'm going to copy dye them. And I actually have, what did I just fill? Oh, this is construction paper. I don't know how that's going to work because I feel like that's going to fall apart when it gets wet, but we'll see. I've got tons of paper in here. And then a little spoiler alert, I went through all my papers and I'm going to be making some paper packs to put in the Ko-fi store. Right now, I have about, I think, 8 packs that'll be in there. You'll be seeing those hopefully soon. I want to get copy dye paper in there. That's another reason why there was the push to do this. I have some cheesecloths and fabrics here. Poor Maggie. She's like, I'm sorry, I'm in your way, Mama. She keeps backing up. Anyhow, I've got some notebooks, some books that my sister gifted to me a long time ago. They're just the newer ones, but I thought I would copy dye them. I don't think I'm going to use them. I don't do a lot of children's books, but I do love these pictures. They're so cute. I have some of my favorite pans that I picked up at the dollar store and yard sales that I like to use to make prints. And black marks. I have a whole bunch of plastic doilies. These are my mark making thing. These are what I used to do mark making on my copy dye. So you'll see that in a minute. I got a couple of spray bottles and a few extra things here, and I love using these mats. These are what I use. If you've ever seen my copy dye that has that grid on there, that's what I use. I use those. So I'm gonna get this all set up and we'll get started doing some copy dyeing. Oh, look at that rolling boil. Get down in there, avocados. So you can see the water. I think you can see it on my light is not that great in here. I'm picking the water up. It looks like on the film, it looks like it's kind of a greenish color, but when I look in without looking through the camera, I can see the pinkish color kind of a little bit. I don't think it's coming through on the camera yet. But anyhow, there's that. I'm going to go ahead and turn this down. I just want it to boil for 45 minutes. So, timer, so I won't remember when I started it. I'll just set that on. And then, because I don't measure, I don't cook, I don't like it, I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm just going to throw baking soda. Whoops, that's a lot. So that's a lot of baking soda. And we will see what happens. So it might have a sediment on it now. And if it does, that's okay. That's how I learn. I wasn't able to watch what I was doing because it doesn't matter. That was fun. That was exciting. All right, time to get started doing some dyeing. I've got my my light right here and my darker right here, I think. Goodness gracious, I think I mixed them up. I think this is the darker one because it's got the green pan. That's right, darker and lighter. Let's see how they fare. I'm using 32 pound paper. I just got a stack right here. So let me just throw that one in there and this one in here. I forgot to put my gloves on, so give me just a sec. Well, I'm just gonna have coffee fingers. So you can see as I'm putting them in there, that's all I do. A lot of times I'll throw a whole bunch of papers in at one time, but we're just gonna try this out really quick here. And I'm just gonna lay it down like that. And then this one, oh yeah, this one is definitely darker, I can tell. And as I go across, things do drip. So there's gonna be 2 different kinds of coffee on those. And I just let them sit. I don't care that they bubble up and get ripply. That does not bother me. If it does, you can absolutely smooth it out. You can do whatever you want. This is the way I do it. And the way I get my smushy papers, the ones that I say that I like a lot that are, what do you call it? They're just like smeary, I don't know. What I do is I take my cheesecloth and I drip it into one of my coffees. Usually I only have one coffee going at one time. So I'll drip it in there and then I just smush it like this. That's all I do. I just give it a rub down, you know? That's it. The other thing I like to do is, this is another lace that I have. It's got the lavender pieces on there, and I loved it, and I never used it because I got coffee all over it, and I don't particularly like the coffee dye look. I know the lighting is horrible, but on this one, I don't. But what I do like is I put that in the coffee like this. And then I give it just a little bit of a wring out, not too much, it doesn't really bother me. And I usually do this after my papers have dried a little bit. And then once they're drying, I'll just lay this on top of all of the papers. I just kind of string it out. And that's how I get those real like poofy, cloudy pieces. So that's what I do on those. But I'm gonna do that later. Right now, you can see already there's some marks in there. I'm just gonna let these ones do their thing. And I'm gonna lay a few on there as well. So let's just get some papers going. And the other thing is you want one, what I've noticed for me is I have to have it fully covered before I put the next one in. Otherwise I will have white splotches. If you like white splotches, then don't make sure that your paper's covered. Goodness gracious, I can't spit it out. So see, that's what I do. I just push it down once like that, and then I flip it so that it's fully covered. And then I'll do the same thing on this one. This is like that plastic, I don't know, it's a different arts and crafts thing. I never did this one, but I have the pieces. So I do like to put paper on those. Let's see, let's get one in here. And you've seen that I stacked a bunch of my papers. I don't mind doing that. They may show lines where the paper's joined here. Sometimes I don't like it, sometimes I don't mind it. It just depends, really just depends. I'll put that there. And then I have all of these, and I love these. These I like to lay down just to make some different marks on my papers. And I was lucky when I bought these. I'm at a yard sale. The kid that had it in their arts and crafts thing, they already had them all cut up. I don't know if they come that way, I don't think so. So I just use pieces. If I want them smaller, I can make them like little squares all over if I want. I could do whatever I want. And then I can take more paper and then just lay it on top of it as well. So if I don't want to have all the paper mark lines when I'm stacking them, I do try my best. It's not that easy with wet paper to get them all lined out with each other. And then what I do with this. And I'm just using this, you see me press it on here. I was pressing it on there to get the indentations of those squares. And I do the same thing here. I just kind of use it to smush. That's how I found that smushy papers, because I was trying to get them down. And then I liked the look of the smeary look from the papers. And that's what happened. That is how it all happened. The avocado water is almost done. So I'm going to continue to lay papers out in the same fashion and wiping things down. And then we will take a look at the avocado water. Before I do the avocado paper, I just wanted to show you, I'm actually taking my piles down. I moved my coffees off the counter here. One of the things I like to do that I find the easiest to get my papers to line out on my counter, I'm trying to get use up as much space as I can. As I take it, I drag it across a wet paper because it holds my paper down, it clings to it, and then I can get it right off that and then lay it down. It does help to get rid of the bubbles. If you are a person that doesn't like all those bubbles in there, that is one of the things that helps. I know from experience, I'm not gonna love all these lines on my papers, so I'm taking my piles out, apart, and just laying them down. And if it's too far, the other thing I'm doing is, the reason why I'm using the 32-pound paper is because when you use the cheaper copy paper, it still works, but it tears very easily. And I didn't want to tear my papers. So I love using coffee dye paper. Like I said, I've got 110 that I'm doing in this pack. I'll do the whole pack. And I'm gonna be putting some of them in those paper packs, but I want a nice amount for myself. So And I have another pack of paper downstairs that I might bring up and use some as well. Just depends. Depends on how tired I get, how much I can get done. And I don't have to worry about these papers sticking together when they dry. They'll pull apart easily. Generally, they pull apart easily. I don't want to jinx myself there. Take this one. Put that there. Oh, see, look at that. Already, just the prints, just from me smushing it down. Can you see what's happening on that paper a little bit? That's cool. I think I'm going to take it off this grid, though. Well, no, I'll leave it. It just looks very pretty. I love it. Love it, love it. I love it a lot. And then I'm going to take this here and just string it about and let it just, it'll drink up some of the coffee. So when I put it in the coffee, I did wring it out. I think I usually just put it in water and then wring it out some, because it will, and then it'll wring it out quite a bit, because it'll sop up some of the coffee if it's wet. Okay, it's very tangled. All right. The other thing is I don't worry too much about little fuzzies. Sometimes, you know, I have a dog. I just can't control her shedding. I do the best I can. I brush her all the time. I sweep, I dust, mop. I do all the stuff. I do all the things. But, you know, sometimes seasonal. So those also just brush right off the papers, and I do iron my papers. Oh, there's the avocado. It is a dark purple. So I think I think from what I understand, I think if I remember correctly from what I read, the more baking soda you use, the darker the color will be. So it does boil down, like it's evaporated quite a bit. But once I get rid of all of this stuff right here, and I have my water, which I have an empty pan to use, I can add more water. Same thing, cold. See how, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I can't wait to see what that looks like. Anyhow, I can add cold water to it to thin it down and to cool it down. So I'll be doing that in just a moment. Just same way I did the coffee dye, the coffee waters, and then I'll have that pan on the stove. Okay, got my pan ready. I've got my colander in there with some cheesecloth on the holes there. And then I'm going to drain the rest of that avocado. I scooped all the peelings out in the pits, and I'm going to now drain the rest of it in here. I can't do it on camera because I don't have anyone to hold the phone for me, and I don't want to risk burning myself. All right, I've got everything stacked up. I stack my papers, you know, anywhere from 2 to 5, sometimes more. Now I just took my little baker racks. I bought them for coffee dyeing, and I have them laid on top of my piles. And I'm going to continue to make more piles of paper that I'm just dyeing. Now, as I run out of my mixture, if I still have stuff of my coffee dye, if I still have stuff that I want to dye, that I want to work with the coffee dye, I just add more water, because honestly, I make my coffee dye mixture dark enough that it's going to be beautiful. And those ones that are super dark, they are gorgeous. And as you can see, I'm just dripping my papers down the line because it doesn't bother me to have all these extra marks on them. And then the avocado, I have this stuff, they're like dripping all over my floor too. The avocado one, they're really pretty actually. So if I leave them in there for a while, they'll get darker. They're actually quite dark it's hard to see it when they're wet, but when they dry, they'll be beautiful. They are definitely more purpley. I also know, depending on the type of papers I'm using, it'll pick up different hues, coffee and avocado, but definitely the avocado, it really depends on the hues of the papers and the different, like you're using linen paper, all of it, anything that's different on the paper, you're gonna get different looks, different colors on your papers. So I'm just same thing on here. I'm just gonna lay it down, grab a hold of this paper, well, without lifting it up, hopefully. You know, it worked fine until I turned the camera on. That is the way it goes. All right, so goodness gracious, maybe it's the avocado. I wasn't working with those. I'm just gonna try. I just want to lay it down. I just don't want to get paper lines on my papers. You know what I mean? So I'm playing with this one too much. I ripped it already. That's all right. As long as I don't do that to all my papers, it's all right. I don't want all my papers ripped. There we go. And that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna continue to do this. After my papers dry, then I'll go in with a second layer of coffee dye with stencils on some of them, but for the majority of my papers, I just want them straight coffee dyed. All right, a little closer look. So this is how dark, if I leave the papers in the avocado, that's how dark it came out. That's not completely dry yet. And then that was a quick dip and there's some coffee on the top. I actually like the look, so I may do some different variations with that. I usually double up all my papers. I did not double this one up because I love the markings on that. So these are all gonna be wet for a while. I have a stack underneath these racks and then on top. And I'm just gonna let them dry. I just check on them throughout the day and I flip them and I turn them around as they dry. Right now they're so wet, I would just tear them all. And you can see right here where it's really dark. And because I have that trim underneath, see there? It's puddling there. So I'm gonna come in, I'm just gonna sop it up a little bit with some paper towels because that will not dry if I just leave it that way, although it will be really pretty. I'm not sure what's going on with that paper right there. Oh, it's laying on top of those. It's the same exact 32-pound paper. This is avocado dye though. Isn't that interesting how that is bubbling up like that? Looks like it has warts. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what it turns out to be. And then I have some stacks of paper there as well. And then this one right here is drying on the parchment. I also think sometimes depending on what they're drying on might do something for the color. It's hard to see in my light, but once these are all dry and I get them downstairs to my desk, then you will really see how they're coming together. This one you can see coffee dye and avocado being mixed together. Isn't that gorgeous? It's so pretty. It is the next morning and I did a ton of paper. Had them overlapping, so a lot of them are still wet. Some of them, I had a couple pieces that were really sticky. So, I'll show you really quick. The ones that are closest to my stove, where my pans were, where I did the most dripping, pulling the papers across, it gets crispy right here on the edge. But this is, I just pulled that, this up, so, let's see, whoops. So just taking this off now, and and they're still a little bit damp, but they're easy to pick up. You can see, whoops, it wasn't stuck to the table. And then I'm just gonna flip them over so you'll get prints on both sides. So there's some markings on this one. My avocado dye was so dark. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna do another batch of both coffee and avocado that are lighter because this is very, very dark. It's beautiful, but it's very dark. But a lot of the avocado dye I put them on top of some coffee dyed papers to dry. And they were giving these really beautiful marks and I was just loving them, and they're all different. They're beautiful. I mean, I'll use them. Look at this one. I'm not even sure. I don't even know how that happened. So I think it's just however the paper goes in and wherever it's sitting, but that is cool. I wish I knew how that happened because I would love to replicate that. But that is not what's gonna happen today. So I have another one here with spots. I only got 2 like that, so how do I share them? I know, scan them in, right? Scan them in. But look at these beautiful colors. This right here, I'm gonna go back to the light where it's more brighter here for you. Let's see. Let's see if I can turn this way. Now, so I just wanted to show you how pretty these colors are. This one is a mixture. I do not know how well the camera is picking this up in the light, but it is such a beautiful color. These are so dark. Some of these these avocado dyes, they look like to me like a velvet. Like they just look velvety because they're so beautiful and dark. But that is very, very dark. So I have they're still damp, but you can see. Oh, that's the other thing I want to show you. You can see as they're drying, see how they start to lift. So even though I had them in a pile. See how easy that is to pull up? Yeah, not to worry. And so this one really looks velvety. Isn't that gorgeous? It's very dark. I don't know if I could say that. You can see how many papers I have. I have a few papers here. And as they're drying, sometimes depending on, the one thing I do find is depending on how cheap the coffee is, maybe that's the key, maybe that's it. It can get a little, I can't get my foot, it can get a little like sticky here at the end. So just be mindful of that if you haven't done it before, just to be gentle, just to be gentle. I'm not always the most gentle person, so I end up ripping a lot of my papers. This is gonna be a two-handed process up there because it's getting sticky. But isn't that gorgeous? So pretty, and I wanted to get, I'm trying to get down in here. So these are still wet. If I leave this on there, it's gonna dry and I'll get better imprints on there. And the bottom one for sure. I'm not gonna lift that one yet. Just thought I'd give you an update. I'm just getting ready for work right now, so I'm going to just, basically what I do is I just shift papers around, and as they're getting kind of dry, I move them to another section and pull the ones that are really still wet or more damp. I'll pull those up to the top levels. And let's see. All right, I went and grabbed some papers off those mats, those grid mats. Now I had moved them around a couple of times, so they are kind of blurry, or the imprints are kind of different and moved around a little bit, but I don't mind that. If you are particular about your designs and your lines and you want them to be very, oh, actually maybe that is the grid. So, but if you want them to be very like, oh, I can't think of the word, very distinct and straight lines, then you might want to try a different method. I don't know what that method is. This is just my method and I don't mind this. But my coffee dye, even though I love it, these are very dark. I like lighter colored coffee as well. I like a mix, you know? I want options. But some of them, but isn't that beautiful? So I'm thinking this white stuff might be the baking soda residue, maybe from some of the avocado, because I can tell there's a little bit of pink in there. This one was from, I don't know how I got those spots. I think I don't really know, but they're cute. I like them. My paper is stuck to a paper right there, but I think that's what inking will take care of that. Here's some file folders. And I laid them on these metal baking racks, and that's how I got those lines right there. This avocado dye right here, I was using some cheesecloth, and when I was done using the cheesecloth in the avocado part, I wrung it out and I laid it across the papers. I wanted to see what would happen, and I just love that. Isn't that cool? It's really, really pretty. All right, so this, I don't know if this is gonna show up. I don't know what's going on, but my lighting is horrible. I don't know if the camera is picking that up or not, but this is a pink, a lighter pink. Maybe I come over here. I don't know. Anyways, this is a much lighter pink. This is what I'm after, honestly. So you can see on this file folder, bits of the pink came off on there. That's what I'm after. I want more of a lighter pink. Oh, there. I think that one shows up better. And then this one, that file folder is even a lighter pink there. There's a good color variation. And then, as you can see, this is the color I got with the baking soda. So if you are not wanting the baking soda, the dark purple, then don't do that. But I do love it. I think I'm just gonna have to keep dyeing some more papers. And then you remember that one that I really love, the imprints? Look at that, isn't that pretty? Loving it so much. And then there's the grid on the back of it from laying it on that plastic thing. I'm going to continue to dye all the things. And here is the cheesecloth. So I don't know how the camera picks it up in here, but I don't know. There's coffee and avocado. It kind of looks nasty to me through the film, through the lens here. But when I watch a video, they usually look a little bit better. So hopefully that's the case here. All right, I'll catch you up on the next episode here. All right, here we are on day 3. I'm still coffee dyeing some papers here, and I just pulled them out of the pan. What I'm going to do now is lay some of my lacy things on top of it, and we'll see how it goes from there. This is basically a trial and a miss for me all the time. I'm not a perfectionist because I don't know how to be, so I can't struggle with that. But my doilies are plastic, and they have openings. So any place where there's not an opening, obviously the coffee's not going to be able to get through. So I'm going to lay them down just like that on top of my papers. And then what I like to do also is take a secondary piece, run it through my pan. My pan of water's over there on the side. You've already seen me do this. And then just drop it on top. So I'll do the first batch like this, and then I'll see if I don't like it for whatever reason, then I will skip certain steps. And that's just all there is to it. You know, I end up using all the pieces anyway. At the very end, you're gonna see I have some pans, the ones with the holes in them. And so what I do is I just put the paper down like this, just lay it down, and then I laid a pan on top of it. Now I'm going on with a second piece, and I'm just gonna lay it on top to see if I can get a second impression. I noticed that I get a better impression with these, definitely if I press into them, but on the bottom. So the bottom one's gonna get a better impression. Oh my gosh, I am splattering coffee everywhere. That's all right. Mopping floors will come later. So let me just catch you up here. Here are a couple of pieces that I did with the pans. And you can see my coffee dye, it's not perfect. Like it doesn't get all the way everywhere, but I absolutely love it. I think it's so gorgeous and so fun to use. They're pretty no matter how you fold the paper or tear it up. The other thing that I like to do besides the lace doilies is I have my Amazon mailer bubble wrap, whatever it is, whatever kind you have. You can see mine's well used and loved. And I'm just gonna lay it right on top of some papers. I'll go down here. And I'm just gonna lay it down. It looks like it needs some weight. So let's see if I can get these to work. I'll put those down, and then I'll lay paper on top of that because the liquid on the paper will help press it down. Sorry for the background noise. The master of the house is in here making his lunch so he can earn lots of money for me to spend at Hobby Lobby. Just kidding. I'm not going to tell him to be quiet. Or ask him. I shouldn't say that. Tell him. I'm not going to ask him to be quiet. There we go. So, and then just giving it a little smush down. This will also push coffee down into the thing, into the bottom paper. And then these, I need to leave them alone. I cannot be messing around with them. I need to let them dry fully. I have a lot more doilies here. I pick them up at estate sales, garage sales, if I ever see them there. Usually I find them in like little odd shops. Oh my gosh, I've never called it an odd shop in my life. I'm watching a lot of YouTube. So, you know, what are they called? Vintage shops, things like that. Oh my gosh, I guess it is an odd shop, but it's that's not what we call it here in the States generally, at least not in my neck of the woods. But I don't mind using the same terms. I love them. I love all the different terms. And I love listening to all the different accents. It's so much fun. Who else is like that? And this is another one I just bought. I don't know where I got this one, but it looks like poinsettias to me, kind of. So I thought maybe I should do some of that. While, let's see, I think I'm gonna go full on straight up and down on this one, like that. All right, so the paper that I'm using today, I'm actually just using all the papers in my stash. So the paper I'm using today is 26 pound. They're all matte photo papers. They're all the papers that I pick up at the thrift stores and garage sales, estate sales, things like that. And then the heavier duty paper, that 32 pound, I actually bought that from Amazon. Another thing I also like to do is take my paper as I pull it and bring a lot of coffee onto it. And then there's different ways you can achieve this, but since I have so much coffee on that paper, I'm gonna just smush it through, without trying to not move my you know, what is that thing called? What is that called? My stencil. All right. Another thing I can do is I can use my much loved cheesecloth, and I can just stamp inside of it. And this is just gonna put an extra layer of that coffee on there just to give that imprint. And I'm gonna go ahead and just take it all the way off the edge there on that paper. You know, like I said, just trial and error. You just keep finding things that you like to do until you find the one that you love. And if you don't find the one that you love, you just keep playing. I love all of them, so it's really hard for me to pick and choose. Okay, so I'll just do one without putting a secondary paper on there. Let's see how that works. And I need to put this paper somewhere though. We'll put it on this grid. Trying to match these two up. All right, so just getting that coffee down in there. And there's quite a bit, so I think I'm gonna sop up just a tiny bit of it. Well, I don't know. Let's just go with it. I'm gonna be at work all day, so I'm gonna just drop that on there and see how it works. don't know what you don't know until you know. And it's been a while since I coffee dyed, so I'm just gonna keep playing with this. I think I'm gonna take this one over these two. It'll be a partial on this one page. I don't think you can, I don't know if it's in the camera. Oh yeah, it is right here. It's just partial, but that's okay. That's kind of cool when that kind of a look. And I think I need to put a little bit more coffee on this one. Oh my gosh, my friends, I have coffee all over my cupboard, my cupboard doors right now. Oh, the things my husband puts up with from me. That's okay. You know what? I'll clean it up when I'm done. I mean, some things I have to clean as I go because I'm super messy, but for the most part, I'm going to clean it up after I'm done. So this is why it takes me 7 to 10 days, because I air dry my stuff and I do mass. I think the last time I did a big coffee dye session was, oh my gosh, I want to say almost 2 years ago. That's how much coffee dyeing I do, but it lasts me a long time. And it's gorgeous, and it's just so much fun to play with. Another thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go around the edges and just kind of sop it up, like just with some paper towel, just dabbing it. I'm hoping that helps me not to get, so I'm not too extra crunchy on the edges of my papers, because that's what's tearing them, is trying to get them up, is that they're crunchy. They're super crunchy, which I don't mind crunchy, except for I don't want my papers to all be torn. So I'm just gonna go around all the edges and just kind of daub it up a little bit. I'm gonna let the other stuff sit in the middle and puddle and do its thing. It's kind of like watercolors, you know, to me. Like it just kind of smushes around, does its thing. And then same thing with my doily. So I'm gonna go around the edges of my, this is what I do notice that I don't like when I do my stuff, is that when I'm pushing it out, if I have too much, I like some, but if I have too much around my petals, the borders of my things right there, that it gets super crunchy, and then I take and rip the whole thing. So don't want to do that. So I'm just going to go around the edges. If you have done this and you have another tip, a better tip, or any tip, then please share it in the comments. I want to know. I want to keep practicing and just playing with this technique. I love it so much. All right, until these dry, I will see you in a moment. I'm back from work. It's been about, I don't know, 5 hours or so since we were here last. Just pulling up some of the papers, thought I'd give you a look. I'll grab these here, bring them closer. So these are the ones that were on the top. So they've got those nice dark splotches. Aren't those so pretty? Love them. This one didn't come out as great, but that's just the way it goes. Hold on one second, Maggie. No, good girl. And let's see, this one that I laid on top of this grid papers. There's the top. Isn't that pretty? I don't know if it's picking it up or not, but we'll see these closer at the desk also. This feels kind of dry. I'm gonna lift it. This is the top one. Whoops. I'm gonna leave my thing down there. So it's not gonna have that really pretty lace, but it does give it some texture look. Isn't that gorgeous? Or I don't know, texture's not the right word, is it? I don't know. So this side obviously is just plain, and I can put this back down and set stuff on top of it. Like I don't have to just have one side. Or I can run this through my printer and put something on that side, or nothing at all and leave it that way. Isn't that just so much fun and so pretty? Let's see what else we can come up with. That's not printing very well, so I'm gonna lay coffee on this again. The paper's pretty white. That other one might have soaked up a lot of that coffee. That's probably what happened. This is still super wet. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that alone. Wet, wet, and wet. All right, trying to do all of this on camera is not the easiest thing because it takes so much time to do. But I have promised. So I'm doing it. I'm doing my best. This will probably be the only time I ever do this. At least this in-depth of one. Let me grab this one off too. Oh no, I'm gonna leave that one on. It's so wet, but I don't want to pull that off because it is looking so beautiful. This one I will take off. It's kind of stuck to it. Whoops. Oh man. I'm shifting my stuff. That is not what you want to do. However, let me just see. I'm gonna go ahead and lift this side for the video. You can see nothing's happening. So I'm gonna take the paper off, but look at that side. Isn't that gorgeous? So I'm gonna take the paper off and I'm gonna put more coffee on there. I'll just let this rest over here. I mean, it's drying pretty well right there. These ones here, my paper's always stuck to the bottom. So we'll just pull this up. This is what I showed you before with the other ones. This is how I got the nice print with the polka dots. I don't know, you see that? But I'm gonna leave this long, I want that to dry. Stick that back down there. Plus, when they're still wet, you take a chance on them tearing, of course, if they're not all the way dry. So these are the colors. See all the prints. This is from just laying it straight on the wax paper that I've been using over and over again. The coffee just reactivates and the papers get wrinkly here and there, and that's how I get all of those looks. That is purely just happening as it wants to happen, and I love it. I love it so much. Well, I have to change some gears here. I got to show you something. This is what I'm going to use to finish off the coffee dyeing. It is only 28 pound. I wish I had 32 pound, but 28 pounds should be fine. It's definitely sturdier than my normal cheap printer paper, but this is not matte at all. So I'm hoping that this will grab the color better. I learned a couple things here, my friends. As I was using all the papers in my stash that I've picked up, I noticed that, look at how gorgeous that is. Isn't that so pretty? But look at the back. It's not grabbing the color. And so I don't know how many papers I did like this. This is my lace, and it's not real. You're gonna see this better on the at my desk. But what I realized when I was looking back, like what's wrong, what's happening to all my papers is that I'm using single-sided photo matte paper, so it's only one-sided. And I think that's the difference. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a whole new batch. I have tons of papers. I think I've done, I don't even know how many, several hundred. They are all still usable and beautiful, but I wanna go ahead and do it with this, and I wanna do a good print with the lace. I'm gonna go ahead and grab a couple of stencils downstairs just to finish off this very long video, because I want you to see what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and that it's okay to not be happy with the first thing and still be able to use it. I'm just dipping them in. I made a fresh batch of coffee dye, and I'm a little bit lighter. And I'm just gonna do the same process before. I'm gonna go ahead and just lay them all out. Once I lay them out, I'm gonna go ahead and put doilies on top of them, stencils, whatever, just for the first run through here. And then I'm going to put another piece of paper down on top of that later to remove and let the bottom layer just dry completely. But for now, I'm just going to continue to lay everything out. You've already seen me do this process. So I will be back after when I'm placing the doilies and the stencils, in case you want to see that again with the new batch. All right, we're going to lay some stencils down. I went and grabbed the new ones. I forgot. I already forgot that I had these new ones. So let's see. These are the ones, I did a video on these. Okay, that's tangled. Let's just lay them down. So all I'm going to do is lay it down, and on top of that one, I just grabbed my 8.5 by 11 stencils. I didn't want to do 12 by 12s because it goes partially on papers, and I didn't want to deal with that right now. Let's see. I don't know if it matters which way I lay them down, but I just want it on the paper. I try to line it out when it has a print like this, because like this one has the bees, so I want a really good impression. And then I'm just gonna smush them, you know, put them down. You want them to grab. I mean, I do. I think it does it a little bit better if they grab down. So you want to put them on. I do. This is not a tutorial. This is how I do it. I gotta quit talking like a tutorial. I like to put it down when the paper is wet still, not dry. I like to do it both ways. It just really depends. The outcome is different. So this is very confusing. I'm so sorry. But right now, what you're gonna see me do here is while they're wet. Now, I had ink on this from some stenciling. I'm just gonna leave it on there. I'm not gonna clean it right a second. This is my birds, the bird stencil. So I think, and they're not gonna fully fit on my page. I'm trying to decide who am I willing to let cut off. I like that little birdie. I like that, and I always tear my papers. Think about what you're doing, girl. Think about it. I'm gonna drop them off there. So one's gonna miss a head, top of a head, side of a head, whatever. And I love squiggles and lacy looks. So these will come in handy here. Let's put that one, that has stencil. I would use this for stenciling too, so there's some ink on that one as well. And I have this one. Let's put that one right there. Paper's popping up. Oops. Like that. Then I will take my cheesecloth and dip it in my fresh batch of coffee water, which it's darker than the lightest one and lighter than the darkest one that I did before. So I just want to just kind of push that down in there a little bit. Just get my stencil down. I think once I put another piece of paper on here too, we'll see it. So I think, yeah, let's try that. I don't know what I'm doing, my friends. I really don't. I just kind of guess every time I do this, but. Have I confused anybody yet? Now I'm just gonna take my papers out of my pan and lay them on top. All right, second go around with lace doilies. I'm gonna put that down there. And these wet ones. And really press into them as much as I can without hurting my paper. Oops, just tore that paper. I don't want to use that one. Oh well. Let's see how that lays on there, those two. Okay. And then again, taking the paper, another piece, and laying it on top. And I just honestly can't remember which one gets the better impression, the bottom one or the top one. Just really trying to get that to lay on there. Do I have anything underneath that one? No. Take a piece of this lace and I'm going to drop it on these two right here, like that. These ones just around, like so. I untangled them. And then we'll lay this one here on top of that one. Just try to press into it to see what happens. And we'll leave one without just to see if it's different. I think that's a good idea. And there's nothing, oh, there's nothing under this paper. Okay, let's put this stencil here. No, hold on. I think I'm supposed to take this off, but, oh well, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna rip it if I do that. I'll have to use some scissors later. That's okay. All right, so I'm just gonna continue to lay the papers down on these and then we'll return when they're dry. All right, here's my mess. My papers are set. I took over counter space too. I am able to get 11 sheets of 8.5 by 11 right there on the counter right next to the sink. On my kitchen, dining table, whatever, I'm able to get 21 papers down. 21 8.5 by 11 papers. So as you can see, I'm able to do quite a few at one time, and I do it indoors, sun dry naturally, and then I'll just turn them. And then here on my really long counter, I'm able to double up. This is where I'm doing all the lace and the lace pieces and the, what do you call them, stencils and things like that. And I just go all the way down the counter. So most of these are doubled up except a couple of them. All in all, I think I have about 63 to 65 papers down at one time. Everything is coming out much better now that I have the right kind of paper. I just wanted to show you really quick here that the paper that's on top, I just ripped it on this trim. Look, that's what I'm talking about. Now we actually have a real image of what I like. This, if you like these kinds of papers, that is, I just use a trim. I just use a trim underneath it. So that's the top paper, and then the bottom paper is not grabbing it. I think it's because it's just so wet. It's picking up like from, I mean, it's got some markings on there. So it is the top paper that picks the images up the most. I think I'll just take another one, and it's not all the way dry, and just lay that on top of this trim here while we're at it. See if I can do that again and get some more of that cloudy, poofy, whatever it's called. Let's see, where else do we want to check? That was just an extra piece of paper there. I don't know what that's from. Wanted to check my stencils. Everybody's still kind of wet. It's been a few hours, so, and it is wintry here. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and pull these up. The longer they dry, the crisper the image will be. So, and without moving them. So now if I put this back down, I'll never get it right. It'll be blurry. So I'm gonna go ahead and just let this one dry. See all the stone or whatever that stencil is? It's really cool. So that's the top one. And I'm gonna grab that stencil off, even though that's really wet, just to show you this is the bottom one. So honestly, I believe just the bottom one's gonna have a light image. You get something, but you get coffee dye no matter what. So it's definitely, I mean, I feel like it's worth it to do the two papers. Sorry for the shadows. Yeah, there's that. I think it's definitely worth it because I'm getting two papers instead of just one at one time. I think I'll leave that there and just see what happens. Let's just check another one really quick while we're at it. Let's do the spiral one here. Oh, no, that one's really, actually, that's pretty wet. I'm trying to see, like, is anything kind of dry? They're all gonna be the same, so I'm not gonna do that. So anyways, that's where we're at. I think that's all that I really needed to show. The papers on the table, I went ahead and put they dried, and they have the same color on both sides. So my coffee mixture, actually, I do like it a little bit darker than what I made, but that's okay. I can just go over it again and I took my cheesecloth and I just switched it back with another color. And so that'll darken it up and make some marks on there. Those are my plain smushy papers that I like to have, and then these will be the decorative papers. And I think for now, that's it, my friends. The next video that we see together will be of me going through the papers. They may or may not be ironed when I show them to you. So I hope you enjoyed the process. I hope you enjoy all your moments, my friends. I'll see you on the next video. Bye.